practice? What are you guys looking to do?
I think it's going to be, can we, of all of our culture pillars, the one about being selfless, can we handle some of these kids that we brought in here that are really good players, running out there with the threes, and be okay with that? Can we handle if one of those new guys comes in and knocks off one of our ones and twos, and now they're a three? Because what was great last year is we made it through a season with almost no depth. So we were very fortunate. Our O-line, how they pulled that off was really miraculous. How our quarterbacks pulled off their situation was miraculous. How our inside linebackers pulled off their situation was miraculous. Our running back staying healthy the whole year was miraculous. We had a lot of miraculous things happen last year. This year, we've addressed a lot of those rooms, right? We have a lot of depth. I would say our roster is better than what it was from 1 to 120. But now can we handle those other things that come with that? 'Cause there's some really good players not getting on the plane to Illinois. We're only taking 70 to Illinois. There's nothing we can do about that. How do we handle that? That to me is going to be with the win. And I know it's probably not anything what you're expecting. Do we still have that same culture that we did last year? Our pillar killers were bought in last year. Our backups were bought in last year. Our special team guys were bought in last year. Our starters, our scout team guys. Every single aspect of our team was bought into what we were last year. Can we do that again? With all the expectations and pressure.
What are your, I guess, roster numbers at this point as far as how many guys you expect to have here, and then once school starts, how many more you're going to add? And I know that was kind of a concern of yours in the spring with, the guys coming back and the impact.
For compliance reasons, our number has to be 112, so we'll be at 112. That's where our number will be.
What are the biggest questions that you have to answer about the depth chart through these next couple of weeks, whether it's finding starters or finding depth guys? Any positions you have to keep a closer eye on than others?
I really feel good about all of our spots because everybody's returning, and we've added the pieces that we felt like we needed. So I would say I'm not concerned about anything. I'm more concerned about the morale of my team and us staying positive when we get, bad news. If we get a single-digit guy voted out, if we get a leadership council guy that doesn't get voted in, however you want to word that, how do we handle that? How do we handle if you didn't get on the plane to Illinois? What are you going to be like there next week? That, to me, is going to be the tricky part of managing a roster that has 97 scholarship football players on it, where we're usually managing a roster with 85.
What's the state of the quarterback room as you enter the first practice here? I know Josh and Frank split first team reps in the spring. Is that kind of the plan entering the fall, or how do you want to divvy that up?
Those two guys will be taking the reps with our first group, and we're going to see how Lowell looks. He's moving better. He's not 100%. Obviously, JoJo is a good football player, and Eddie Lee. Those will be the guys who take the reps, and Cam will continue to progress, and we'll watch him as well.
How does your defense change from last year to this year? I know this year you guys are starting out with the two co-defensive coordinators. Does the scheme change any from how you started last year to now?
No, but you'll see more on defense. You'll see more on offense. You'll see more on special teams, just because we've all been here. We've all had a spring. All of our players are returning, so we will add more, but it'll still be based out of an odd front, and so nothing will change there. It's one of the main reasons we promoted within, because of the way our kids finished, the month of November and December. With already making the change. So that was a huge part in my decision. And I expect us to pick up right where we left off.
How about the same thing like on the offensive side? I know in the spring it was a lot of kind of same concepts, but maybe presenting it different ways for defenses.
Yeah.
Is that the idea, or you want to add more to what you're doing?
No, we're done adding. They're going anything since the spring, but it'll just be more of what you saw in the spring, just a different presentation to the same plays. And same on defense. We're just going to hope that we can disguise our stuff a little bit better. Because last year it was just very important. We got lined up and we played hard. And this year, I have a feeling more people are going to be paying attention to us than they were year before last.
Do you think you'll be able to be a lot sharper just because everything is installed and you're able to just kind of rep it now instead of last year where it was such a scramble?
You know, it's interesting that you brought that up. Because last year when we were starting, I believe we got to have 12 walkthroughs before we started fall camp.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of good work done in those 12 walkthroughs. And now we didn't get those. So it's been more summer conditioning. So I think we'll be in better shape, and we won't look as, how do I politically correct that? Say our body fat percentage will be less. I guess that'd be a good, polite way to say that. But I don't know that we'll be as sharp maybe because we hadn't get those walkthroughs. So that's interesting. We had that conversation today. Because we're doing more and we didn't get the 12 walkthroughs, it might look like we might be taking a step backwards, possibly. But I'll see. That'll be interesting. You know, I followed the rules. I didn't really go out there and watch our kids during their voluntary workout, so I didn't watch them. So I don't know how good they've looked on their own. Obviously, those quarterbacks and those linebackers have been heading up to practices on their own, but I did not watch them. So I don't know what we look like. I'll know tomorrow.
We were talking with Sincere at Media Day, and he said he worked on his speed and that he had set some personal records this summer. Is it unfair to expect him to have as good of a season this year as he did last year?
That was a pretty special year. You don't do that very much in your life. He did hit 22 miles an hour a few times this summer, which he's never done before. He has leaned up. But we didn't really want to use him like we did anyway. That's a lot on the back. Now I know he wants that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing for him. But we'll see. We've added some great depth in that room, and we expect Brendan to be healthy. You know, we've got Kadrick and Jay Lott that have really come on. Those two kids were recruited when we got here, and then we've added, you know, two very good backs in Kaborian and DA. So that'll be a very interesting room to watch. And we brought back BJ, who's been here for forever. He might have been with the original 18 when he came here.
Is Cobbs? He had that injury, is he going to be able to practice, or is he still out?
He just got completely released, which is amazing. That kid is an adult at all times. He's very special, so I'm very happy for Kadrick.
Are there any other significant injuries headed into these practices?
Ernesto will be out for quite a bit with his shoulder. We've got a few just, you know, from training and those kind of things, but nothing significant other than Ernesto.
Is there any COVID impact in terms of how practice is structured? I know last year everything had to be so different. Is this year more like what a typical year would look like, or is still some of that in place?
That's still in place. I mean, we're going to have a few kids miss practice already from contact tracing, and it's just turned into such a political debate that you even hate commenting on it. But it's really down to our unvaccinated players on the contact tracing. So that's why we'll have to probably, I'm sure from now on into this meeting right here, everything I will have to say from here on out is going to be referred to our database, because I'm afraid, I'm just using my common sense right now, that if we know who's not out there, we're going to assume they're not vaccinated, and I don't really want to paint those kids into that picture. Because it still is possible that if you are vaccinated and you have symptoms and you go in there and get tested and you're positive, then you're out, obviously. So it doesn't mean if they're out, they didn't get vaccinated. And that's the part about this that's the shame game is unfortunate, because you don't know everybody's situation. Some people might be health, some people might be family. You just don't know what their reason is. So I have to be very careful for the sake of the child.
But is it right now that the unvaccinated players are the only ones being tested and contact traced?
Contact traced, yes. Tested, that's not quite true, because we have some guys that are vaccinated, that just got vaccinated, they're still getting tested because their time is not up yet. So we're waiting for, further rulings. Because San Antonio's up right now, even though I just better wait and speak to Dr. Compos before I release what our number is, and once she tells me I can give you the okay, I'll tell you what number we're at. We're doing really good on our percentage.
Has the conference or Lisa given you any guidance on what to expect as far as what will be the rules?
Yeah,
if
as of
something
right
happens?
now, if you're at 85%, you don't have to get tested anymore. Nobody. It's like COVID is over. But because San Antonio's rising, that triggers another rule in the conference. So then our unvaccinated players will have to get tested. So right now, I believe we're in that situation that San Antonio's up. So we are waiting for, I guess, the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Because we're at 85%. It's just when everybody's officially at 85%.
Yeah.
85% of our team or more has had both vaccinations. It's just there's still a time limit before you are stamped. If that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think she'd be okay with me sharing that with y'all.
Yeah.
Our kids have been fantastic. And I think lately what's been going on has really even scared my kids a little bit, because you're seeing so many younger people get sick and in the hospitals, where in the beginning our kids, that wasn't really happening, but now that is happening. So I think that's made them all want to go get vaccinated.
It sounds like the way things unfold around the city and the state of this issue going forward could impact changing protocols around here, and it's still kind of up in the air how it'll look in the next couple months.
Yeah, I don't know that, but I would imagine that I really stay in my lane on that. I'm not the greatest person to interview when it comes to that kind of stuff, because in the end I can't control it, so I'm going to do what I'm told to do.
All right, I think we're set.
Thanks, Jeff.